Joining us from somewhere around the world, it's Mike from around the world. Mike, how you doing tonight?
God bless you, Pastor. I'm doing well.
God bless you. Amen. Are you ready for the showdown?
Which one?
Well, that's a good question. Okay. Well, I've already talked about, the earthquakes, the volcanoes, and now the glacier. So let's go there. The glacier. What are the odds, Mike, that you're getting ready to have this big summit between Putin and Trump in Alaska, and you start having earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, and now a gusher? I mean, this glacier, when it released the water, it's 16.6 feet higher than the Menindal River ever has been.
Yeah.
So is this a prophetic sign of what's taking place here?
I most certainly believe that is a foreshadowing of, I don't think that people realize the potential of what happened there, right? That was in fact a ice dam that burst. That was an ice dam.
Yeah.
That's one of the most dangerous situations we are 100% going to face all over the earth, right? The water event is on its way. And I believe that, the water breaks right before the baby comes, right? It's a true sign.
That's right.
That baby is coming. But here's what people may not understand. You're looking at areas of high mountain Asia, the Andes, Pacific Northwest and European Alps, Iceland, Alaska, of course, and Greenland, Central Asia. All of them have ice dams, right?
Okay.
These sometimes are underneath the water too. Pastor, they're melting at an alarming rate.
You said that.
The oceanic ice is almost gone, right? Oceanic ice is. The oceanic ice goes in between the fault lines in subduction zones in certain areas, right? If they're going to start going.
Oh.
That flood was, the whole process is called a glacial lake outburst flood. These are everywhere. They're all over the place. And North America, where we are at right now, especially near San Francisco and those areas, believe it or not, they're going to be greatly affected by these processes.
Really?
Nothing is going to stop them. The only thing that could stop them is if all over the earth temperatures dropped, probably about 3.2 degrees, I believe, on average. If that were to happen and we had consistent cooling, everything would kind of settle down. That's not where it's going. There's a much more dangerous process taking place. And it's not like you have an incident and then 5 years later have another. Nope. The ice melts have already begun. These processes will increase, and only God knows, to what degree, because it could immediately, this could affect 9.3 million people easily.
Okay, I want to ask you, because I think I heard you say it. You're saying that the ice that's melting affects the fault lines in San Francisco area?
Yes. Oh, yes.
That's probably what caused these 8 quakes today? Okay.
Yes. Especially that last earthquake we had in Russia, it has really shaken some things loose. So we're gonna have a lot more of these dangerous. Remember, we were talking about the Russian 8.8, right?
Yes.
And in the Pacific plate, remember, right across, if you go diagonally from that 8.8 plate, where do you end up?
Cascadia subduction zone.
There you go. And so that's the opposite side of the plate. And that's going to continue. It's not finished. It's by no means finished. Many of the sensors that they have in the ground to measure pressure, temperature, and all these different parameters, they're safeguarding that data. And the reason why, it's normal to have peaks in data coming back from these sensors, right?
Okay.
It's not what's happening. It's consistent data. The peaks are not happening. When a sensor puts out consistent numbers, that's a solid number. If it peaks and drops every so often, that's normal activity. That's a good sign. That means the earth is recovering, but it's not recovering. So we have a buildup a pressure on one side of that plate. That means it will pop. And when it does pop, right, because it's such consistent pressure, it'll pop in two places. Each one of those places, well, it's going to have to be at least an 8.9 or higher.
Okay, because Standeo talked about this in the webinar. I mean, I recorded him this week, and he said something very similar to what you're saying. I don't want to give his thing away, but it was amazing. So you're saying this thing will pop, and you're talking San Francisco, the San Andreas fault line in that area.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
8.9 or higher.
Or higher. Yeah, I'm betting on the higher part. You're looking at that in two places simultaneously. And then that will unleash everything else. That will most certainly shake loose everything else.
You're saying that earthquake of 8.8, which was the sixth largest, tied for the sixth largest earthquake ever. Okay?
Right.
And what it did is it moved the tectonic plates over in the subduction zone over in the United States area. Yeah. And that might have been the reason that the ice broke loose in Alaska.
Yeah.
And with the ice breaking loose, that means that the ice caps are melting, and underwater the ice is melting that's lodged into these crevices of these fault lines. So you're saying that we're on the verge of a 8.9, 9.2, 9.5, whatever in San Francisco. I mean, that's or somewhere along the San Andreas. Would you say that?
Yeah. Yep. Right along that Pacific plate, we're going to have some big problems. Peru, for example, right? Peru and the Nazca plate, the Coscos plate, Caribbean plate. We're going to have some activity from those plates. The Coscos plate's a fairly new plate. It's new, the whole bunch, and there's no way it stays stationary. Now, it's still going to be the cork, right, because it's holding the pressure of the other plates back a little bit. It's a good gauge to see where the plates are moving. Over time, and the reason why is because over time, certain fault lines disappear altogether. Certain continents disappear altogether. New ones appear, right? But we're having major movements. You know, most of these plates move at a rate from anywhere from 5 millimeters to about 110 millimeters per year, right?
Wow.
That movement has been so sporadic that there's certain plates, like the Pacific plate has moved 400 millimeters in only 6 months. And it's starting to warp. Right, so the Pacific plate is warping. It's actually warping itself. You have the southern side moving faster than the northern portions of that plate. So it's doing some sort of a twist type deal. That's going to cause some major instabilities. Then you have the Nazca plate, which is acting on the Scotia plate and the South American plate, and you have all these tectonic pressures building up all over the place, Pastor Paul. We have this melt event in Alaska, for example. That same melt event, when Russia had its earthquake, there was a heat jump up to, I believe it was 400 degrees in the water.
What?
Right? Now you may ask, how can you have that? Nothing is boiling. If you take distilled water, if you ever want to make superheated water, here's an experiment, but don't let kids do it. Take some distilled water. Right?
Okay.
Put distilled water in a coffee cup. You put it on high for about 2 minutes. You take it out. It's not going to be boiling in the microwave. It's not going to be boiling, right?
Right.
Then you stand back and drop a pinch of sugar in it and back off. As soon as that sugar hits, it's going to be a violent reaction. In fact, anything that hits that water is going to be a violent reaction. Okay, that's what's sitting under the ocean, superheated water.
Wow.
Pascal, that water, with these earthquakes that we're having, is starting to let that superheated water come up.
I see.
And when it hits the seawater, a violent reaction it has. In fact, they still haven't come out to tell people what happened in the area of that 8.8 in the ocean. But the same thing is going to begin to happen in the Pacific plate, the Juan de Fuca plate, near up there where Alaska is, and everything else. We're going to really start seeing some pretty violent activity coming from the oceans with these earthquakes. And the earthquakes are they're going to magnify, both in frequency, duration, and also magnitude.
Now, you know, and I know you know, the 8.8 earthquake happened, tsunami happened, but 7 volcanoes erupted simultaneously, including the big one that had been dormant for 600 years.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you a question. If and when the plate over in Cascadia subduction zone over by Washington State, it gives. We have a 9.4 earthquake or something like that. Does Mount Rainier, maybe not even that big, maybe 8.8 again. Does Mount Rainier blow? It hasn't done anything for, I don't know, hundreds of years. Does it blow too?
Well, sadly, it's Mount Rainier is already waking up. It's already waking up, right? I'll tell you right now, it does not need any shaking to do its damage. I believe the walls are thin. It's having more and more geoactivity out in that area. But yes, it could. Yeah, and here's the part. You don't want an earthquake like that in the Pacific Plate.
No.
Because you have 3. I know everybody knows about Yellowstone. I'll give a hint of Tamaulipas. I'm always talking about Tamaulipas because I want people to understand that Tamaulipas has 2 brothers in the Pacific Ocean, right?
Okay.
These are massive volcanoes. These are world enders. Let's put it that way. All of them are world enders. You're looking at a tube that goes down to an endless source of magma. If they blow, it'll make Yellowstone look like a pinprick, right? So you're looking at a volume that's indescribable. There's no way anybody can measure.
And it's up in Alaska.
No. It's in the Pacific Ocean.
Oh, you're talking about the one in the Pacific.
There are 2 unnamed, I don't know what you call them. They're not super volcanoes. They're much, much bigger. That are just like Tamaulipas, right?
Okay.
They're just like Tamaulipas is one of the biggest volcanoes in
gigantic.
the solar system.
It's gigantic.
In the solar system. Well, there are 2 more in the Pacific Ocean. Under that plate, because they always say things are dormant because of all the debris and everything. But since LiDAR scans have been done and newer echo scans, they have found some pretty big monsters in the ocean. And if it blows, it will send debris up, way up in the atmosphere, at least up to 25,000 feet. It will coat the earth in ash in less than a week. That's how much material could be ejected. What? So I'm saying this to let you know there are some bad things, right? Potential super disasters on the earth that could be unleashed due to this shaking. In fact, scientists will start to come out and tell everybody that there's some unsurvivable scenarios they will not discuss, but they are absolutely possible at any moment.
So I had a couple guys who I interviewed for the webinar that said that this tilting is taking place. Is the tilting taking place, Mike?
Yes, it is.
Is it a serious? Is that what's causing part of the problems? The tilt.
Well, it's going to be a parameter that will help. The shaking and the eruptions and everything else be a little more extreme, yeah. And because if you tilt, you're changing rotational inertia. If that changes, then plate weights will change. The actual weight of the plates and the direction in which it pulls is going to alter too. Can you imagine if you're tilted 15 degrees suddenly, right? For example, the Pacific plate, like the Nazca plate, is pulling to the east.
Okay.
The North American plate is pulling to the east. Can you imagine that suddenly changing and pulling to the north? If that ever happened, then all that built up pressure is going to release in certain areas, causing that would be about a 12.0. We don't have a gauge for that type of earthquake. That would shake the earth. That would shake the entire globe multiple times. So we're looking at some real scenarios that are quite serious.
So warning, planet Earth. I mean, warning. It's true. I mean, we're at a very volatile time. Let me ask you a question, because today an Australian flight with about 200 some people on it just dropped out of the sky. It fell 27,000 feet before they could stop. They stopped at less than 10,000 feet to go.
Yeah.
We also know that there was a cloudburst today. I don't know how many more these we're going to have. This happened in India. They found 55 bodies. There's hundreds missing. A cloudburst or something similar to that happened, in Milwaukee. Something similar to that just happened again up in the Smoky Mountains. I mean, they're flooding again. I mean, what is going on? I know down in Florida, in South Florida, in Plant City, Florida, they had 11 inches of rain in 3 hours. So what's going on, Mike? These bursts. I mean, what's going on? Is this part of the atmospheric compression you talked about?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And if you look at the map, if anybody looks at the weather map right now, in Canada, not over the USA, in Canada, they're going to notice the wind stream in a trough, a small dip in what's happening in Canada. Normally, the jet stream comes all the way down to America. It no longer does that, right?
Really? Okay.
And there's a small trough that will determine the direction of this hurricane, which I'm watching closely.
Oh, you're talking about Hurricane Aaron?
Yeah, it could push it out to sea.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Or it could allow that hurricane to come inland so fast, doing maximum damage on its way into the USA. Right? That hurricane can actually come right into the USA and do massive damage if that trough persists in a specific area. Now, if that trough moves, it could actually be pushed directly out to sea. So because these are high pressure systems that a hurricane cannot overcome. They'll always push any low out of the way, right? But it has caused like a river, you could say, going over Canada. Not in the USA, it's over Canada. We have no airstream over the USA right now. It's all in Canada. There's a trough sitting in between two strong vortices. Based on it, that hurricane, if a gap opens up, the hurricane could be allowed to come right into the USA. If no no gap remains, the hurricane will be pushed out to sea. And so I'm watching to see if a larger dip is going to form in Canada, because if it does, that hurricane is coming straight up to it. And that's going to be the line of least resistance. And so that will be the path it takes. Even the computer models, all of them are having problems forecasting this upper massive airflow, because it's something very rare. It's not something everybody sees.
I've been noticing it. Everybody's saying, okay, all the meteorologists are saying, we're going to be a category 3 this weekend, and they got an area there in the ocean, they say, but when it gets right here, we don't know which way it's going. And you're saying that's going to be determined by the airflow in Canada.
Yep. And
you're watching that airflow in Canada. So it's interesting that the meteorologists don't say that. I mean, I know they probably don't want to give it away. I don't know, but is that why they can't? That's why they can't make a prediction, because they don't know what that airstream is going to do.
Yeah, I think they have an idea, but the modeling doesn't. Right? If they speak outside the modeling, they're fired.
No, I see.
They're going to be fired. They cannot speak outside the modeling. I believe it was a few months ago, all those meteorologists were fired for speaking outside of the modeling. So they can't even do that. They just can't do that. But that's going to be the contingent factor on the true direction of this hurricane.
So we're going to have to pay close attention to this. I mean, because I keep wondering, I keep looking at the high pressure systems and the low pressure systems, and when I look at the map, but I had no idea that whether it's high or low is determined what's going on in the is it the jet streams or just air currents? What do you want to call that up in Canada?
And you can call that a jet stream.
Okay,
a jet stream that the airflow is just follows that. Yeah. Plus, the waters are warmer than they have ever been since we've recorded everything.
So if this thing hooks and heads toward, let's say, northern Florida,
oh my Lord,
it's going to get in some really hot water, and when it does, it's going to become a monster fast.
Yeah, and remember, the hotter it gets, right? Yep. The more moisture a cloud can actually hold.
Oh,
so instead of holding 900 billion tons of water. It'll be able to hold 1,800 billion tons of water.
That's not good. That's not good.
And all that drops. And then there have been times, Pastor, an event people are going to start saying is this. I mean, describe it. Imagine rain falling so fast. There's no more oxygen in the air.
What? No. Where?
Yep.
No. Yep. Are you serious about this? Are you serious?
Yes, that's going to start happening everywhere.
Raining so hard that there's no oxygen in the air because it's saturated with water and moisture, right?
That's right.
Will people just drown? Will they just drown in their own?
Well, they won't be able to breathe, and hopefully, that event, when it happens, it'll happen for about 2 minutes. About 2 minutes.
That's enough to kill me, Mike. I mean, I'm heaven bound if that's the case. Well,
and what's so sad, Pastor Paul, is back in the 1920s, right? There was 2 cases of it. It happened 2 times for about 15 seconds. Last year, it happened 4 times. This year, it's going to start happening everywhere. The atmosphere has finally hit a trigger point where saturation is at a level where that downstream is going to be just overwhelming. It'll be like somebody dumping a bucket of water, like a waterfall. It'll look just like a waterfall.
Yeah, like
imagine, 5 inches of rain falling in less than 45 seconds or something like that.
Mike, it'd be like we'll be like we're being waterboarded almost. I mean, you're telling.
Yep, absolutely. If in the past events like that were able to crush a house, that's what that event can do. It can crush a house, and we're going to start having that everywhere.
Okay, now so it's going to be bad for hurricanes. It's just I have a bad. There's just been too much. It's been so hot down here in Florida. It's been incredible. 95, 98 every day. It just never and real humid. You can't. Real humid. You better have air conditioning going all the time and it's pulling the water. So let me ask you. So are we getting ready to go into a period of time now because the atmospheric compression? So what about the hail, the wind? I mean, what's going to go?
Both will increase. Okay. Both will increase, and it will get to the point where they will not be able to have any small boats will not be able to be on the water.
They'll just cancel them. They'll just say that's it.
Yeah, on the coastlines too. People will start moving away from the coasts because there's going to be too much humidity. Can you imagine being in an environment where the humidity is 100% or higher on a consistent basis?
No,
never going below 100. That's what we're going to start seeing, to the point where it'll be steam on the water all night long until the sun rises and depreciates. Some of the mist coming up from the water, that those temperatures will be that consistent, that high. That'll be followed. All of this is a part of the process of atmospheric compression. And then all of that years later is going to be followed by no rain whatsoever. No rain whatsoever.
I mean, that's because
when it's raining the way it is, right?
Right.
As it continues to rain, there's going to be a lot of mold and mildew issues all over all the continents. As that continues, the temperatures will continue to fluctuate and change and get towards a warmer, types of water, but the chemistry of the water is changing. As the ice melts, as the sea ice melts, as glacial ice melts, we're going to have a chemical change in the water. That chemical change, some of those chemicals will translate into the clouds. This is going to change the overall system and how things function and operate. When that takes place, it'll take, that's almost a 1,000-year cycle before it goes back to normal again. And Pastor Paul, has happened before. This is a problem. This is a cyclical change that is seldom discussed. I don't know why they won't discuss it, but we have cyclical events. This has happened before. All the chemistry in the water changed. The weather patterns altered. They were changed. We have oceans beneath the oceans of this, you might as well say, superheated, distilled, purified water. That's going to double the effects that we have now as this hot water breaches the surface to go into our waters, right?
Yeah.
Many people don't know this. That's why in America, they capped off certain lakes. There are, let's just say that everything in America is strategically positioned, right? And it's very difficult I haven't heard anybody discuss some things I know for a fact, some things that many people know for a fact. Many of these lakes are not natural within the USA. They're not natural.
Well, how'd they get there then? I mean,
they're not natural. Underneath the USA is there's a different story happening below the USA. And some of these lakes are purposely put where they are. Purposely put there. Well, I'll put it this way. There's no excuse for us to ever have a lack of fresh water. How about that? There's no excuse for that. But that's a different story.
Yes.
But things are different like this because these people they try to hide so much.
Thank you always for bringing some very, very powerful information and very stimulating dialogue to keep us all thinking. Because see, if we don't, we become these mindless robots, and they will drift us away from the gospel. They will drift us away from Christ.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for coming forward and bringing this information.
My honor to help, Pastor Paul. Always, it really is my honor to help.
I appreciate it, and it's my honor to have you. So thank you so much. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, Pastor Paul. God bless.
Bye-bye.